Hello, everyone. I am Athena Alaya, and I am here with my most beautiful friend, professional astrologer Karen Teal. And this podcast is The Energy Surrounding You. Today, we are going to talk about the full moon in Aquarius, which happens to also be a blue moon, meaning that two full moons have happened within a month period. And it also happens to be a super moon. So the energies here are really, really big. Aquarius, of course, is the energy of rebellion, extreme insight. It's ruled by the planet Uranus. And so there's always a lot of transformative energy, but it's also just about looking at things differently from a new perspective, breaking free from bonds. I am on Aquarius rising and I love the Aquarius energy. I feel like it's always given me an edge in life. And I feel like this full moon can do that for you too. I'm going to turn this over though to Karen because she just has such a wonderful way of explaining the energies with respect to the zodiac. So, what are your thoughts on this, Karen?
So yeah, like you said, we have this beautiful blue moon coming up on August 19th, with which at the time that we're recording this is tomorrow. The full moon is going to be at 27 degrees of Aquarius. And what's fun about Aquarius and what will make this full moon even more fun, if you want to look at it this way, is that Aquarius is known as the unpredictable sign. So, one of the beautiful things about Aquarius is that it is so unique, unconventional, revolutionary in its energy that it's so hard to pin down. So, it covers things that are like unexpected happenings, things that we didn't see coming. And so, with this full moon, I would think that those energies would play into this full moon. So, you do need to kind of be aware because full moons do bring this intense energy that can sometimes be quite emotional, which is kind of icky for Aquarius because Aquarius would rather, the energies of Aquarius, the sign, would rather not necessarily want to deal with the emotional aspect. But this full moon is going to kind of combine these two things where you have this emotional response from the energy of the full moon. And then you also have this kind of very logical, scientific, technological, highly intelligent Aquarius energy, and we're putting them together. So some people, depending on what's going on in your chart, could have a big emotional response, especially people who maybe are not prone to having emotional responses about things, because the reason why they don't in the first place is probably because they have a good amount of Aquarius in their chart already. So this full moon can trigger something, but we tell you these things so that you're aware of it. So when you feel these emotions building up, and the idea would be to want to kind of make sense of it all with this highly intelligent Aquarius energy. So we have to kind of reconcile these two. And this is, just to let you know that this is coming in. So, and this would be a good thing to talk to Athena about because she has an Aquarius rising. And so I would be curious to know maybe what your kind of experience with that energy is, or maybe what you think could happen because this, it's going to be, I think, in your first house. It's in the later degrees of Aquarius. So have you been, because we're on the day before right now, you might even be feeling these energies coming in already.
Yeah, so well, first I want to just reiterate one thing you said, which is this is happening at 27 degrees, and that's a degree associated with mutability. And so, flexibility is a big theme here, right? And that just emphasizes to me these Aquarian energies. As you said, Aquarius is radical, it's revolutionary, it's forward thinking, it's innovative. And being ruled by Uranus, which is known as the Great Awakener, that means lots of breakthroughs. So, that can be scary for people, right? Change and transformation can be scary, but the way that I think that people should look at it is as empowering, right? You're putting away things that no longer serve your higher purpose. and, allowing for new freedom to come in, that next level to come in. And so really leveraging those energies. And yeah, full moons are associated with our emotions, our subconscious, right? So this is the opportunity for people to allow themselves to use that innovative, free thinking, thinking outside the box energy of Aquarius to approach any kind of maybe emotional baggage or self reflection or things which may arise in the subconscious from a new perspective, right? We want to give ourselves the opportunity to break free from our frontal lobe analytical thinking that says, hey, well, we deal with it this and this way, right? And think about what are some other ways we can deal with that. For myself, I have been experiencing this full moon energy. And maybe it's because I do have an Aquarius rising. My sun is in Virgo, so I tend to be, an analytical thinker. It's ruled by Mercury, and has a lot to do with the mental plane. But I've really embraced my Aquarius rising, and I've come to just see it as such a benefit. One thing that I like to mention to people is, Aquarius is also the sign that's associated with high intelligence, right? And one of the markers of intelligence is flexible thinking. They have done scientific studies on members of Mensa to determine, what it is that make people geniuses, right? And what they found is it's having a mental flexibility, thinking outside the box, thinking about problems in a totally different way than other people think about. And when we look at, very famous geniuses out there, what is it that makes them that way? They're so innovative. They think they see things that other people haven't seen. They do things in a way other people don't do. And that gives them an edge. So I feel like, in terms of dealing with, the emotions and the subconscious, I've really embraced this Aquarius full moon energy because I want to be able to assess things in a way that are different, because it allows me the opportunity to move through them much more fluidly. When I get stuck in the analytical mind, I find that while that's a good tool for some things like planning and organizing and stuff, when it comes to breakthroughs, that doesn't necessarily serve me in my personal transformation, right? I have to be able to move away from the old way of thinking into a new way of thinking. And so I try to really train myself to, to ask myself, what are some other ways I can look at this? Um, One thing that's very helpful for those of you out there, in terms of, well, how do I develop this innovative, perspective is, to give yourself a practice or engage in a practice that helps you to move beyond the frontal lobe, analytical style thinking. Meditation is a great way. Like, if there's something you're trying to work through, you can hold that idea in your mind and then allow yourself to go into a meditative state by using a mantra or focusing on your breath. Let that intention drift away, and then see what arises in what we would call your mind's eye, or in your emotions or in your body, right? And pay attention to that. Another thing that I have found really helpful that I've started doing lately are listening to hypnotherapy sessions using self hypnosis and also subliminals. Of course, you want to make sure you're finding a reputable, source for that, right? You want to, if you come across subliminals on YouTube and stuff, do a little research, make sure they're legit. But that also gives you an edge in terms of empowering yourself, breaking free from old patterns, binaural beats, hertz frequency tones, sound baths, all unlock you from, being in the analytical realm and allow you to dive deeper. How about you, Karen? What kind of things have you found help you to process and manage, full moon energies? Especially, I think this is really important too because the full moon is going to be also a super moon, so we're going to feel those much more intensely. What have you found works well for you?
I love those suggestions you made for especially for the meditation and people who have a hard time getting into that meditative state. Those binaural beats and the hertz that you mentioned are a great way to get you into that kind of state without you having to be like, am I thinking of the wrong thing? I can't get my mind to be blank. The things that people just in a mundane sense have a hard time getting into that mode. But really, these things that you've mentioned, Athena, are perfect for just kind of throwing you into that kind of state where you can, kind of see things objectively in your mind's eye and really get a sense for what, if you're looking for guidance, what you're being guided to do. Or, if you're trying to like contact your guides or just get insight into something to just make things a little bit clearer. I love that you mentioned all these things that have to do with air, like listening to things or your breath or these vocalizations that you would hear. All these things are dealing with air. And we really have this big theme of air energy coming in. So we are going to be dealing with quite a lot of air. So I love that you brought that suggestion to everyone because that is actually going to be a big bonus that people can use to help you through this time is kind of leaning into that air energy. And what is air energy? I mean, it has to do with communication. Full moons are a time where emotions can run high. So there would be a lesson here in let's take an extra second to think about how we speak to people, how we communicate. Maybe people aren't understanding you. How can I be more clear? Because we're still in a Mercury retrograde. So there are still communication breakdowns and issues. I know it took us an hour to even get on this podcast because we were having technological issues. And, that plays into Aquarius too, because Aquarius is this highly intelligent sign. It deals with advancements in technology, internet, social media, advances in science. I wouldn't be surprised if in the global scale, if we did see stuff like this week, even this weekend, coming into this week and even going into next week, because sometimes these full moons are almost like a trigger for an energy and you actually see the result of that trigger sometime after, maybe sometimes even longer than us astrologers expect. Like there were times where I predicted something and then like it was a couple months later before it happened. But so just things could kick off right away. There's a lot of other stuff we're going to talk about because we have a lot of astrology in the month of August where there's a lot of stuff kind of going down. So it'll be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if some big things happen this week, especially in terms of scientific developments, technological advancements, even things like technological breakdowns. In terms of, because we're at a later degree of Aquarius, I can't rule out that there like could be big kind of natural disaster type things having to do with air, especially. We also have some earth stuff and some fire stuff going on too. So I wouldn't be surprised if it involved kind of that stuff. That's like on a mundane scale. One thing I have noticed, and I've heard this from other people. So, if people are commenting, you can share your experience with this if you work in these fields. But I have heard that around the times of the full moon, if you work in emergency services, like emergency rooms, police, fire, stuff like that, that there tends to be kind of a boost in activity because people's emotions are running high. And when the energy is like that, there's impulsivity. And Aquarius is a sign that actually is, because it's an air sign, it can be quite impulsive, especially because you have this brightness that comes with this Aquarian energy. And sometimes it can want to move faster because the Aquarian brain is understanding where something might be going. Other people around you might not understand, but that's the beauty of Aquarius, is that you could come up with an idea that no one has ever done before. Everyone can say you're crazy, but you just stick with it, be flexible in how you approach it and bring it into the world. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see some success, because we also have a lot of themes this week on with having to do with what we'll talk about later, which has to do with like Venus and Jupiter. So there are money making opportunities this week too. So I would use this full moon to your advantage. Don't if you can help it, try to avoid having an emotional breakdown. Instead, use that energy towards something productive, especially creative. We're in the sign of Leo right now, Leo sun. Leo is the sign of creativity. Aquarius is the opposite sign of Leo. So Aquarius actually has quite a bit to do with creativity too, but it's, I guess, more in a structured technological sense, I guess, than Leo, which is more like kind of recreation, creativity, hobby creativity type stuff. But it's really a very creative duality where lots of things could be birthed out of this energy, really revolutionary things during this time. So pay attention to ideas that you have. People always say don't start things during Mercury retrograde, but what they really mean is don't start something brand new during Mercury retrograde. If you've been thinking or mulling over an idea for a while or putting pieces together for something, it is absolutely okay to start it during Mercury retro because you've been working on it prior. You just maybe didn't have the time, the energy, or whatever in your life to be able to do it. And Mercury, when it's slowing down, it's giving you that chance to actually work on revisiting projects. And so, don't be discouraged by the Mercury retrograde. I want to say, you can use it to your advantage. And one more thing I want to say about full moons is we think of them as culminations. We think of it as a culmination of energies from whatever you could have started during the new moon time. So the new moon was on August 4th. It was August 4th, and it was at 12 degrees Leo. So what have you started at the beginning of the month? And was Mercury retrograde the next day. So Mercury was still direct on the last new moon. So use this time to your advantage. It doesn't have to be a death sentence just because Mercury's in retrograde. It's like things are actually breaking down for a reason, because we're supposed to be like, what is working, what isn't. And full moons sometimes can be a dumping of you realizing what isn't working all at once, and that can be the catalyst to push you into creating something brand new.
Yeah, those are really great points. Another thing about full moons is, in terms of their culmination, it is the fact that a lot of those culminating energies, are from the themes related to the new moon that happened in that particular sign. And I believe that we had the new moon in February of this year. So, taking some time to reflect on what was going on in your life at that time. One thing that I like to do is I get my phone out and I scroll back through my pictures, and that helps kind of trigger like the events that were going on at that time, people I may have met, things that, significant kind of topics. And then I kind of consider, how that theme has been playing out. And I actually write down, what lessons I've learned related to those particular events. As the full moon is happening, because it helps to reinforce in my consciousness this idea, that it's all a pathway to greater understanding. And, I'm just going to give Mercury retrograde a little bump here. A lot of people are so afraid of those energies because they're like, everybody's like, oh my God, everything's going haywire, and, I'm going to get in fights with people and I can't speak right. Or like, my bank account, all of a sudden I can't get into my bank account, or, whatever. Sure. Yeah. Stuff kind of, it can get a little hairy. It can get a little hairy, right? But at the same time, whenever a planet is retrograde, that is that's an opportunity for you to reflect, right? If you're having communication issues with your spouse, it's probably just being emphasized during the Mercury retrograde, which means you should ask yourself, okay, are these, issues that we've been having? And how do we now taking the opportunity to ask yourself, how can we really work through them? Because a retrograde energy is reflective. It's supposed to be a time where you gain understanding while it slows down, right? And it kind of, actually kind of pulls back a little bit, on the intensity of that particular planetary influence because it's slowed down a little bit, right? So, as an Aquarius rising, I say, what you should do is if to you these planetary energies are controlling you, try to reframe that for yourself. No, what they're doing is presenting to you information for your benefit, right?
Right.
You are the master of yourself. You are the, magician of your life, right? You're the king or queen that rules your kingdom. So let yourself do that. And, there's some other kind of ancillary energies that are going on with the full moon. There's a moon trine Mars, there's a moon trine Jupiter, and there's also very interestingly moon square Uranus, right? Um, so the square in Uranus that may really bring to the forefront areas of improvement, areas that you can really attend to. And so, whatever's coming up, write it down or something, record it on your phone so you can reflect on it. And, the trine in Jupiter, I mean, that's very beneficent, right?
Yeah.
Jupiterian energy, it's about luck, fortune, expansion. It's also an abundant planet, right? So, that's, supportive energy. The trine Mars, that can make you feel a little impulsive, in combination with the air energy. So if there's, but utilize that to look for opportunities, right? That really goes into that flexible thinking, that innovative thinking. When you allow yourself to see more, right, then that means more opportunities come, to your consciousness because you're just recognizing them there. So allow yourself to recognize opportunities for growth, recognize opportunities that you can take advantage of. If you reframe any of the energies, with respect to this is happening for me, for my benefit, I can tell you, you will navigate, anything related to the new moon or the full moon or, any of the other stuff that's going to be coming up here in the next few weeks with a lot more patience and grace, compassion towards yourself, compassion towards others, right? Don't be afraid to love yourself. If you start going through something that's a little right? Give yourself opportunities to think about new ways to approach it, but also don't beat yourself up like there's something wrong with you because you feel like, you know, that's just your higher self saying, "Hey, look, this isn't working out for you, right? Let's move on. Let's do something different. Let's make a change. Let's level it up, right? Let's elevate it." That's what it's all about, elevating, So go for it. Go for it with power and strength and confidence because this is all for you, baby.
Yes, absolutely. I know it's, yeah, when you get into that way of thinking where you think that these aspects, whether you perceive them as good or bad, is happening not to you, but for you, it kind of opens up your mind to a whole bunch more opportunities that you can take on, as much or as little as you want. Um, yeah, I absolutely love that. It's like changing the way you think about these things and the way that you kind of reflect on things. It makes a huge difference. Because yeah, it's, and just collectively, this year has been trying. It's been very testing to the collective. It's been testing to us on an individual scale. And it's really because the collective is gearing up for like a big boost, or there's a lot of growth that's needed for us as humankind. And Aquarius embodies that energy perfectly, because that's pretty much what it's all about. There's a lot of Aquarius that has to do with social reform, social justice. It's the sign that rules friendships and groups and organizations that you could belong to. So you could experience things having to do with that too. Like, a lot of people are probably just going to have some type of experience with a friend having to do with this full moon. A friend could be very significant. A friend could bring a catalyst for a change in your life. Either a friend brings you an opportunity. Maybe you realize that someone, you might not want them to be as close of a friend as they are, or something. Maybe you want to restructure your friends in some way. But all this activity that you mentioned, where the moon is linking up with Uranus, I mean, that can be sometimes an unexpected event happening, or even a tower moment, as we call it in kind of our magical world. We call them tower moments, having to do with the tower tarot card, where like structures fall or crumble or break down, but it's for the purpose of something better growing out of it. So anything that is breaking down at this time, it's because it needs to restructure in some way. The ancient ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, and it's sometimes seems odd because Saturn is seems almost like the opposite of Aquarius. But if we look at Aquarius in kind of a Saturnian sense, where it wants to break things down and restructure them, we can kind of understand why they picked Saturn as the original ruler of Aquarius.
Well, Saturn's also the planet of gnosis too. So
Yeah.
once you break free from whatever it is Saturn is trying to, teach you, then you have ultimate freedom, right? And that's what Aquarius is about. So, yeah, maybe we can do a podcast sometime on Saturn. I think a lot of
Fun.
people, it's a misunderstood planet.
It is. Yeah. Just like Mercury retrograde is misunderstood.
That's
All
right.
these are opportunities for us.
That's right. Well, everyone, we certainly hope that this information was beneficial to you. You are always welcome to reach out to myself or Karen via social media. If you're looking for any assistance, some guidance, you want to learn some techniques for your personal transformation, you want to get a great astrology reading, Karen is the queen. Please feel free to reach out to us. Leave some comments, and if you found this beneficial, please share it. This we put this out there for you, so that people can bring power into their lives, and understand that you are the ruler of your kingdom. So we want everybody to feel empowered. On our next episode, we are going to talk about some of the critical Venus alignments that are coming up here in the next few weeks. Venus is, of course, a planet of love, beauty, abundance, sex, fertility, all kinds of stuff. So if you're interested in those kind of topics, lots and lots of stuff is popping off with Venus, and we will be sharing that podcast here with you. Um, pretty much right after this one. We're trying to get it out there to you fast. So just go
And there's
ahead
a
and
lot
look for
going
that
on right
one.
now.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, Karen, do you have any final thoughts here before we sign off?
Yeah, one thing that I just want to add that we haven't mentioned about the sign of Aquarius is that it is also the sign of hopes and wishes. So whatever that means for you, this could be a time where you're really bringing hopes and wishes into the forefront, or maybe you want to take some action on them. Maybe there's opportunities coming to you that are associated with those hopes and wishes. So, really paying attention to things that are coming into your life right now, because these are big opportunities. These are hopes and wishes. This is like 11th house stuff. It's right at the top of your chart. It can be public stuff. It's stuff that maybe you've dreamed of in childhood. All these things can be within this idea of this culmination with this Aquarius energy. So pay attention to things that are going on right now, or what is coming towards you, because it could really be something that changes your life, because Aquarius is about radical change. People could really be having big life changes right now, and it doesn't have to be bad. They can be really good.
That's right. It's all about opportunity, right? Think about it as all opportunities for you. Keep your energy high, keep your gratitude high, and just think positively about this stuff and incorporate positive, healthy habits for yourself. And this full moon will truly empower you. So,
Absolutely.
well, thanks so much, Karen, for your insight. Thank you as well to our viewers and followers. You know, we love you, and we will see you next time on the energy surrounding you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.